Welcome back to our channel. Many English learners face the same frustrating problem. They understand English, they know vocabulary, they know grammar rules. But when it is time to speak, something slows them down. They first think in their native language. Then they try to translate the sentence into English. This process takes time, and during conversations, there is no time to translate. So the mind becomes slow, words disappear, and speaking becomes difficult. This is why many learners struggle to speak English fluently. The real problem is not vocabulary. The real problem is thinking in another language first. Fluent speakers do not translate. They think directly in English. And when thinking happens in English, speaking becomes much faster and more natural. Today, we will explore how you can train your brain to think and speak in English naturally, even if you are still learning. Part 1. Train your brain to think in simple English. The first step to thinking in English is starting small. Many learners believe they must think in long and complicated sentences, but that is not necessary. In fact, natural thinking usually happens in short and simple thoughts. For example, during the day, your mind constantly creates small thoughts. You might think, I am hungry. It is very hot today. I need to finish my work. That was a good movie. These thoughts are simple, but they are powerful training for your brain. Instead of thinking these thoughts in your native language, try thinking them in English. At first, this may feel slow. Your brain may search for words. But with practice, the process becomes easier. Another helpful technique is describing what you see around you. Look at your environment and describe it in English. For example, the room is quiet. The weather looks cloudy. There are many people in the street. This habit trains your brain to connect real-life situations with English words. Over time, your brain begins to respond automatically. Another powerful exercise is talking to yourself in English. Many successful language learners practice speaking alone. You can describe your actions while doing daily activities. For example, when you are cooking, you might say, I am cutting vegetables. Now I am adding some salt. The food smells good. When you are walking, you might say, I am going to the store. The street is very busy today. This practice may feel unusual at first, but it is extremely effective. It helps your brain connect thinking and speaking at the same time. The more often you practice this habit, the more natural English becomes in your mind. Remember, the goal is not perfect grammar. The goal is building a direct connection between your thoughts and English words. Part 2. After starting to think in simple English, the next challenge is stopping the habit of translating in your head. Translation is one of the biggest barriers to fluency. When you translate every sentence, your brain has to complete 3 steps. First, you think of the idea in your native language. Second, you search for English words to match that idea. Third, you organize the words into an English sentence. This process takes time and mental effort. During a conversation, people speak quickly, so there is no time to translate everything. That is why many learners feel slow when speaking English. To think and speak in English naturally, you must train your brain to connect ideas directly with English words. One powerful exercise is image thinking. Instead of thinking about the translation of a word, think about the image or situation connected to that word. For example, when you hear the word apple, you should not think of the word in your native language. Instead, imagine a red apple in your mind. When you see the word run, imagine a person running. This method helps your brain associate English words with real-life meaning, not with translations. Over time, your brain learns to process English more naturally. Another powerful method is question and answer thinking. Your brain loves asking questions. You can use this natural habit to practice thinking in English. Ask yourself simple questions during the day and answer them in English. For example, what am I doing right now? I am watching an English lesson. What will I do later today? I will finish my work and practice English. What did I learn today? I learned new ways to remember vocabulary. These short question and answer exercises help your brain think quickly in English. Another helpful technique is speaking slowly and clearly. Many learners try to speak very fast because they believe fast speech means fluency. But speaking too quickly often causes confusion and mistakes. Fluent speakers focus on clarity and comfort, not speed. When you speak slowly, your brain has more time to organize ideas. Your sentences become clearer, and your confidence increases. Another useful method is shadow speaking. Shadow speaking means listening to a speaker and repeating what they say at the same time. For example, you can play a short English video or audio clip. Listen to one sentence and repeat it immediately. Try to copy the speaker's rhythm and pronunciation. This exercise helps your brain learn the natural flow of English speech. Over time, your mind begins to store ready-made sentence patterns. These patterns make thinking and speaking faster. Another important habit is accepting mistakes during practice. Many learners hesitate to speak because they are afraid of making mistakes. But mistakes are a normal part of language learning. Even advanced speakers make mistakes sometimes. What matters most is continuing to speak and practice. Each time you speak, your brain becomes more comfortable with English. Each sentence you say strengthens the connection between thinking and speaking. The goal is not perfection. The goal is building a natural habit of thinking in English. Part 3. After learning how to reduce translation in your mind, the next step is training your brain to form English sentences automatically. Many learners know many English words, but they still struggle to build sentences quickly. This happens because their brain is not yet trained to organize ideas directly in English. Just like any skill, speaking requires regular practice and repetition. Your brain needs time to become comfortable forming sentences naturally. One very powerful exercise is the 1-minute speaking practice. Every day, choose a simple topic. It can be anything from your daily life. For example, your morning routine, your favorite food, your plans for the weekend, a movie you recently watched. Set a timer for 1 minute and start speaking about that topic in English. Do not stop to correct yourself. Do not worry about grammar mistakes. The goal is simply to keep speaking for 1 minute. At first, you may pause or repeat some words. That is completely normal. But after practicing for several days, something interesting begins to happen. Your brain starts finding words more quickly. Ideas come more naturally. And speaking becomes smoother. Another helpful exercise is sentence expansion. This technique helps your brain learn how to develop ideas step by step. Start with a very simple sentence. For example, I like coffee. Now expand the sentence slowly. I really like coffee. I really like coffee in the morning. I really like coffee in the morning because it gives me energy. This process trains your brain to build sentences naturally instead of trying to create a perfect long sentence immediately. Another powerful practice is daily storytelling. At the end of the day, try to explain what happened during your day in English. You might say something like, "Today was a busy day. I woke up early and finished some work. Later, I watched an English lesson and practiced speaking." This simple storytelling exercise improves both thinking and speaking skills. It teaches your brain how to organize events and express them clearly. Another effective method is thinking in questions and answers. This method is very useful because conversations often follow this pattern. You can ask yourself simple questions like, "What did I learn today? What do I want to improve tomorrow? Why is learning English important for me?" Then answer these questions in English. For example, learning English is important because it helps me communicate with people around the world. This exercise trains your brain to respond quickly during real conversations. Another helpful strategy is learning and using connectors. Connectors are words that link ideas together and make your speech sound smoother. Some common connectors include because and but, so, for example. For instance, instead of saying, "I like learning English. It helps my career. It is interesting," you can say, "I like learning English because it helps my career and it is very interesting." Using connectors makes your speech sound more natural and organized. Another important habit is not worrying too much about mistakes. Many learners stop speaking when they make a mistake. But mistakes are part of the learning process. Every mistake helps you understand the language better. Even native speakers sometimes pause, correct themselves, or change their sentences. The important thing is to continue expressing your ideas. With regular speaking practice, your brain will gradually become faster and more confident. And over time, forming sentences in English will begin to feel automatic. Part 4. After practicing thinking and speaking alone, the next important step is using English confidently with other people. Many learners feel comfortable when they practice by themselves. They can talk to themselves. They can repeat sentences. They can practice vocabulary. But when they start a real conversation with another person, something changes. Their mind becomes nervous. They start thinking too much about grammar. They worry about making mistakes. They feel that the other person is judging their English. Because of this pressure, the brain slows down. Words disappear. And sometimes the learner stops speaking completely. This is a very common experience for people learning a new language. But the good news is that this problem can be solved. The key is to change your mindset about speaking English. First, understand that communication is more important than perfection. The purpose of language is to share ideas and understand each other. Even if your grammar is not perfect, people can still understand your message. Most listeners are not focusing on your mistakes. They are simply trying to understand what you are saying. So instead of trying to speak perfect English, focus on clear and simple communication. Another helpful strategy is starting with small conversations. You do not need to have long or complicated discussions. Even short conversations can help you build confidence. For example, you can start with simple questions like, "How was your day? What are you working on today? Did you watch anything interesting recently?" These questions help begin natural conversations. Once the conversation starts, your brain becomes more relaxed. And when your mind is relaxed, thinking in English becomes easier. Another powerful habit is active listening during conversations. When the other person is speaking, focus on understanding their idea. Do not spend all your time thinking about what you will say next. When you truly listen, your response often comes more naturally. You can also use small phrases to show that you are engaged in the conversation. For example, "That's interesting. I understand what you mean. That sounds exciting." These small responses keep the conversation flowing. They also give you a few seconds to think about your next idea. Another helpful technique is asking follow-up questions. Good conversations are not only about answering questions, they are also about asking questions. For example, if someone says they traveled somewhere, you might ask, "How was the experience? What did you enjoy the most? Would you like to visit again?" Follow-up questions make the conversation more natural and interesting. Another important thing to remember is that pausing is normal. Many learners believe that they must speak continuously without stopping, but natural conversations often include short pauses. People pause to think. People pause to choose their words. A calm pause is much better than rushing and becoming confused. So if you need a moment to think, simply pause, organize your idea, and continue speaking. Another powerful way to build confidence is regular conversation practice. The more often you speak with others, the more comfortable your brain becomes. At first, conversations may feel difficult, but each conversation teaches your brain how to think and respond more quickly. Over time, the fear slowly disappears, and speaking English begins to feel more natural. Part 5. After learning how to practice speaking and how to build confidence in conversations, the next step is creating daily habits that keep your brain in English mode. Language learning is not only about studying for 1 hour a day. It is about surrounding your brain with English regularly so that the language becomes part of your daily thinking. When your brain hears, reads, and uses English often, it slowly becomes more comfortable with the language. Eventually, thinking in English begins to feel natural. One of the best habits you can develop is starting your day with English. The first language your brain uses in the morning can influence how you think throughout the day. For example, after waking up, you can describe your morning actions in English. You might say to yourself, "I need to brush my teeth. I will make breakfast. Today, I need to finish my work." This simple habit helps activate your brain's English thinking process early in the day. Another powerful habit is keeping an English thinking journal. In this journal, you write short paragraphs about your thoughts, experiences, or plans. You do not need to write long essays. Even 5 or 10 sentences each day can help a lot. For example, you might write, "Today I practiced speaking English for 10 minutes. It was difficult at first, but I felt more comfortable after a few minutes. Tomorrow I want to practice listening." Writing helps organize your ideas in English. It also strengthens the connection between your thoughts and English words. Another excellent habit is talking to yourself during daily activities. This may feel strange at first, but it is a very effective way to practice thinking in English. While cooking, walking, or doing household tasks, you can describe what you're doing. For example, "I am preparing dinner. I need to cut these vegetables. This recipe looks interesting." This kind of practice trains your brain to connect actions with English words automatically. Another helpful strategy is using English while consuming media. Instead of only watching or listening passively, try to interact with the content. For example, when watching a video or movie, you can pause and summarize what you understood. You might say, "The main character is traveling to another city. He is looking for a new job." This practice improves both listening comprehension and thinking skills. Another powerful habit is learning phrases instead of only individual words. Many learners memorize long vocabulary lists. But in real conversations, people use phrases and expressions. For example, instead of only learning the word decision, you can learn phrases like make a decision, a difficult decision, a quick decision. Learning phrases helps your brain recall language faster during conversations. Another important habit is reviewing and repeating useful expressions. Repetition helps move language from short-term memory into long-term memory. When you repeat phrases regularly, your brain begins to use them automatically. You can create a small list of useful expressions and review them daily. For example, "I see what you mean. That's a good point. Let me think about that." These expressions are extremely useful during conversations. Another key habit is being patient with the learning process. Thinking in a new language takes time. Your brain is building new connections between ideas and words. At first, this process may feel slow or difficult, but every small effort helps strengthen those connections. The more you expose your brain to English through listening, speaking, reading, and writing, the more natural the language becomes. Over time, you will notice something surprising. Instead of translating sentences in your mind, ideas will start appearing directly in English. This is the moment when your brain begins to truly think in the language. Part 6. After building the habit of thinking in English during daily activities, the next step is training your brain to think faster in English during real conversations. Many learners can think in English when they are alone, but when they talk to another person, they suddenly feel slow or confused. This happens because conversations move quickly, and your brain must understand, think, and respond at the same time. The good news is that this skill can be trained with the right techniques. One powerful technique is called instant response practice. In this exercise, you train your brain to answer questions quickly without translating. You can ask yourself simple questions in English and answer them immediately. For example, what did I do yesterday? What is my favorite food? Where do I want to travel? Then answer the questions quickly in English. For example, yesterday I worked and watched a movie. My favorite food is pizza. I want to travel to Japan. The goal is not perfect grammar. The goal is to train your brain to respond quickly in English. Another excellent technique is picture thinking practice. Instead of thinking in your native language, you train your brain to connect English words directly with images. Look at a picture, an object, or even people around you and describe them in English. For example, if you see a park, you might think, "There are children playing. A man is walking his dog. The weather looks nice today." This practice helps your brain link visual information directly with English words, which reduces the need for translation. Another powerful method is shadowing. Shadowing means listening to someone speaking English and repeating their words immediately. You try to copy their pronunciation, rhythm, and speed. For example, you can listen to a podcast, a YouTube video, or a short speech. Then repeat what the speaker says almost at the same time. This exercise trains your brain to process English faster. It also improves pronunciation and speaking confidence. Another useful technique is thinking in short English sentences. Many learners try to create very long and complicated sentences. This can slow down your thinking process. Instead, start with short and clear sentences. For example, instead of thinking, "Today I was thinking that maybe I should go to the market because we don't have vegetables," you can simplify your thinking. "I need vegetables. I will go to the market." Short sentences make thinking faster and speaking easier. As you become more confident, you can gradually create longer sentences. Another important strategy is accepting small mistakes while speaking. Many learners freeze because they are afraid of making grammar mistakes. But in real communication, clarity is more important than perfection. Even native speakers make mistakes sometimes. What matters most is expressing your idea clearly. When you focus on communication instead of perfection, your brain becomes more relaxed. This makes thinking in English much easier. Another helpful habit is creating English-only moments during your day. For example, you can choose certain activities where you only use English in your mind. You might choose activities like walking, cooking, traveling to work. Exercising during these moments, try to describe everything around you in English. For example, the road is busy. The weather is warm today. I need to buy groceries later. These small daily exercises train your brain to stay in English mode. Over time, something amazing begins to happen. Your brain slowly stops translating. Instead of thinking, first in my language, then in English, you begin thinking directly in English. This is a major milestone in language learning. It means your brain is starting to treat English as a natural communication tool. However, remember that this transformation does not happen overnight. It happens through consistent daily practice. Even 5 or 10 minutes of thinking in English each day can create big improvements over time. Part 7. Now let's talk about something very important in the journey of learning English: building automatic thinking in English. Many English learners believe that fluency comes from memorizing grammar rules or learning thousands of vocabulary words. While these things are helpful, they are not the real secret of speaking fluently. The real secret is training your brain to use English automatically without conscious effort. Think about how you speak your native language. When someone asks you a question, you don't stop and think about grammar rules. You don't translate words in your head. You simply understand the idea and respond immediately. Your brain does this because it has used that language thousands of times. The same process can happen with English if you practice thinking and speaking regularly. One powerful method to build automatic thinking in English is daily self-talk. Self-talk means talking to yourself in English about your thoughts, plans, and daily activities. For example, in the morning you might say, "Today I need to finish my work. I will study English for 1 hour. Later I want to call my friend." When you are preparing food, you can say, "I am cutting vegetables. The food smells good. I think I added too much salt." This type of practice may feel strange at first, but it is extremely powerful. It forces your brain to produce English naturally instead of translating it. Another powerful technique is story thinking. Instead of thinking random words, you create small stories in English inside your mind. For example, imagine this situation. You are going to the airport. Then think in English. I arrived at the airport early. The airport was crowded. I checked my luggage and waited for my flight. While waiting, I bought a cup of coffee. Creating stories trains your brain to connect ideas in English, which is a key part of fluent speaking. Another effective strategy is reaction thinking. When something happens around you, immediately react in English. For example, if it starts raining, think, "Oh, it's raining. I forgot my umbrella." If you see a beautiful sunset, think, "The sky looks amazing today." If you are tired after work, think, "I feel really exhausted today." These small reactions help your brain build the habit of thinking spontaneously in English. Another helpful exercise is English question training. Your brain becomes more active when it asks and answers questions. For example, ask yourself questions like, "What is my biggest goal this year? What kind of job do I want in the future? What makes me happy?" Then answer these questions in English. For example, "My biggest goal this year is improving my English speaking. I want a job where I can communicate with people from different countries." This exercise strengthens your ability to express complex thoughts in English. Another important habit is surrounding yourself with English. When your environment contains more English, your brain naturally begins to think in English. You can do this by watching English videos, listening to English podcasts, reading English articles, following English social media pages. Even when you are not actively studying, your brain is still absorbing the language. This passive exposure helps English become a natural part of your thinking process. Another technique that works very well is slow thinking practice. Many learners try to think fast immediately, which creates pressure. Instead, allow yourself to think slowly in English. For example, you might say, "Today, I went to the market. I bought some fruits and vegetables." Even slow thinking is very valuable. Speed will improve naturally as your brain becomes more comfortable using English. Remember that fluency is not about speed at the beginning. Fluency is about comfort and clarity. Another powerful mindset shift is understanding that thinking in English is a skill, not a talent. Some people believe that only naturally gifted learners can think in English. But this is not true. Anyone can develop this ability through consistent daily practice. Your brain is incredibly adaptable. The more you use English for thinking, the stronger the habit becomes. Eventually, you will notice something exciting. You will start having random thoughts in English without trying. For example, you might suddenly think, "I need to reply to that message. I should drink some water. That movie was really interesting." When this happens, it means your brain is beginning to treat English as a natural thinking language. And once your brain starts thinking in English automatically, speaking English becomes much easier.